Beneath the wind-swept sands of Saqqara, the necropolis of ancient Egypt's pharaohs, lies a mystery that defies explanation. It is a place of impossible engineering and unsettling questions. Hidden deep within the bedrock is a subterranean labyrinth known as the Serapium, a silent, underground world that houses one of archaeology's most profound enigmas. Here, 24 monolithic boxes, each carved from a single block of stone, stand in silent testament to a forgotten purpose. The official story, accepted for over a century, is that these were the sarcophagi for the sacred Apis bulls, divine animals worshipped as incarnations of the god Ptah. When a bull died, it was given a burial worthy of royalty, interred here in this grand subterranean mausoleum. It's a simple, compelling narrative, but it is a narrative that begins to crumble under the weight of the evidence. When French archaeologist Auguste Mariette broke into the Serapeum in 1851, he expected to find a necropolis filled with priceless relics and the intact remains of sacred animals. Instead, he found a puzzle. Of the 24 massive boxes he uncovered, nearly all were empty. Plundered, perhaps, but the few that remained sealed contained not a complete mummified bull, but only a scattering of fragments mixed with bitumen. More troublingly, the boxes themselves seem to defy their supposed purpose. Many are vastly oversized for a bull. Their construction is a feat of engineering so extreme it borders on the impossible. And their interiors are finished with a precision that seems utterly unnecessary for a simple tomb. The official explanation, while neat, fails to answer the most fundamental questions. Why go to such extraordinary lengths? Why build tombs for animals with a level of precision that would challenge modern machinists? The answers, some researchers now believe, are far stranger and more disturbing than a story of ritual burial. They suggest the Serapeum was not a tomb at all, but something else entirely, a machine. To understand the enigma of the Serapeum, one must first confront the sheer impossibility of its construction. Each box, weighing between 70 and 100 tons, was hewn from a single piece of Aswan granite or diorite, some of the hardest stones on Earth. For context, diamond scores a 10 on the Mohs hardness scale. Granite registers a 7. The copper and bronze tools of the ancient Egyptians register a 3. How did a Bronze Age civilization, working with rudimentary tools, carve and hollow out these monolithic blocks with such flawless accuracy? The surfaces are polished to a mirror finish. The internal and external corners are perfectly square, with tolerances so fine they defy the known capabilities of their era. When modern engineers examine these boxes, they don't see the marks of simple hand tools. They see the signature of a sophisticated, controlled process, a technology we cannot identify. The logistical challenge is even staggering. The quarried blocks were transported over 500 miles from Aswan, then maneuvered into a network of narrow, descending tunnels barely wide enough to accommodate them. Modern heavy lifting specialists admit that accomplishing this today, even with advanced cranes and hydraulics, would be a formidable task. How was it achieved thousands of years ago, in the dark, without machinery? And there is the problem of light. The tunnels and chambers bear no traces of soot. If the builders had used torches or oil lamps for illumination, the ceilings would be blackened with smoke. They are clean. This small but critical detail suggests they had access to a form of light that produced no flame. For decades, these anomalies were dismissed as testaments to the Egyptians' lost skills. But as modern science brought new tools to the investigation, the evidence began to point toward a conclusion that once was unthinkable.
The turning point came from the inside. When residue samples from the interiors of the boxes were subjected to modern chemical analysis, the results were not consistent with animal decomposition alone. Scientists found traces of organic compounds linked to a very specific biochemical process: fermentation. This discovery opened a radical new line of inquiry. Fermentation, the process where microorganisms break down sugars in an oxygen-free environment, produces alcohol and, critically, carbon dioxide gas. In a sealed container, this gas builds up, generating immense pressure. Suddenly, the over-engineering of the boxes made perfect functional sense. The extreme weight of the 30-ton lids, the flawless seals, the massive thick walls, these were not symbolic choices, they were the necessary requirements for a high-pressure vessel. The boxes were not designed to simply hold something, they were designed to contain a reaction. But to what end? The answer may lie in the very material they were made from. Granite is not just a hard stone. It is a composite material rich in a mineral with extraordinary properties: quartz. This is where the theory takes a breathtaking leap from archaeology into physics. Quartz exhibits a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. The word comes from the Greek piezin, meaning to squeeze or press. When a quartz crystal is subjected to mechanical stress, like immense pressure, it generates an electrical charge. This property is the foundation for much of our modern technology. It's used in everything from the quartz watch on your wrist to sonar and ultrasound equipment. The Serapium theory proposes that the ancient builders understood this principle. By inducing fermentation inside the granite boxes, they could create the necessary pressure to activate the piezoelectric properties of the quartz. The boxes would have become enormous energy converters, turning a simple biochemical reaction into a source of electrical power. This single, elegant theory suddenly explains all the nagging inconsistencies. The choice of granite was not for durability, but for its quartz content. The precision was not for art, but for function, to create a perfect seal and withstand immense pressure. The lack of soot is explained by the light source itself, a low-level electrical glow, a phenomenon known as sonoluminescence, or power for some other form of flameless lamp. The Serapeum was not a city of the dead. It may have been a subterranean power station. If this is true, the implications are nothing short of terrifying. It suggests a level of scientific knowledge in the ancient world that history has never acknowledged. A civilization that understood not just architecture and astronomy, but also biochemistry and piezoelectricity. It would rewrite everything we thought we knew about human progress. But it also hints at a darker possibility. Harnessing such power is inherently dangerous. An uncontrolled reaction, a crack in the granite, a seal failure, any of these could have resulted in a catastrophic release of energy, an explosion of pressure, a violent discharge of electricity. Some of the boxes are, in fact, found with their lids blown aside and the granite shattered as if by a massive internal explosion.
Was the Serapeum an experiment that went horribly wrong? Was this forgotten science abandoned because it was too powerful, too unstable to control? The silence of the Serapeum today is deafening. There are no hieroglyphs on the boxes themselves to explain their function, no texts that describe this lost technology. It is a chapter of history that appears to have been deliberately erased or was lost in a cataclysm of its own making. Standing in these silent chambers, surrounded by these impossible objects, one is forced to confront a disturbing thought. We view history as a straight line, a steady march from primitive to advanced. But the granite boxes of the Serapeum suggest another possibility, a cycle of lost and rediscovered knowledge. They stand as silent, monolithic reminders that we may not be the first civilization on this planet to unlock the power hidden within the stone. And we are left to wonder what other secrets, what other forgotten sciences still lie waiting to be unearthed from beneath the sands of time.